Hey guys, so this is the last test of my mini-series featuring the Sigma 30mm DC-DN lens. This time, we'll be comparing it to the Sigma 35 1.4 art lens along with the Sigma MC11 adapter. And like before, I won't do any scientific tests because I just don't care for them. For me, it's all about results. So, here we go. Oh, hold on. Yes?
Excuse me, mister? Have you seen my puppy dog?
Well, which one is it? A puppy or a dog?
Why would you make me decide?
No, thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Let's begin. We'll start with a shot of this watch, and what we're looking for is good sharpness and smooth bokeh. First, the Sigma 30mm. Next, the Sigma 35 Art. And here's a side-by-side comparison. Just so you know, the camera did not move position. The footage of the Sigma 35mm seems zoomed in because it's a slightly longer focal length than the 30mm. The Sigma 35 art lens is a bit sharper in this test, and the bokeh looks smoother as well. Next is a shot of my kid's baby shoes. First up, the Sigma 30mm. Next, the Sigma 35 art. And here's a side-by-side comparison. Both images look pretty much the same to me, so no real difference there. Next is a shot of this old camera. First up, the Sigma 30mm. Next, the Sigma 35 Art. And the side-by-side comparison. Both look sharp, but the Sigma 35 Art produces a much smoother bokeh. Here we go again, but this time a tighter shot. Here is the Sigma 30mm. Next, the Sigma 35 Art. And now the side-by-side comparison. Both look excellent in sharpness and bokeh, although I accidentally set the wrong focal point in the footage to the right, but you can still get a good idea of what both lenses can produce. Now we'll take it outside using a variable ND filter to balance the exposure. First up, the Sigma 30mm. Next, the Sigma 35 Art. And the side-by-side comparison. Both look incredibly gorgeous in terms of sharpness and bokeh. Next, let's take a look at the bokeh in this shot. First, the Sigma 30mm. And now the Sigma 35 Art. And here's a side-by-side comparison. The Sigma 35 Art seems to have more contrast and smoother bokeh, but both lenses look sharp while handling flares very nicely. Now, let's test the autofocus performance of each lens using the touch autofocus of the Sony a6500. First up, the Sigma 30mm. We'll start by focusing on the foreground. Now the background. And back to the foreground. Next, the Sigma 35 Art. Here's the foreground. Now the background. And the foreground again. The Sigma MC11 adapter works incredibly well. It does make a clicking noise in autofocus mode, but performance-wise, it's pretty darn good. Overall, both lenses perform excellently. Next, we'll compare the steadiness of each lens using the camera's IBIS, or Steady Shot Inside feature. First up is a Sigma 30mm. Next, the Sigma 35 Art. Again with the Sigma 30mm. Now the Sigma 35 Art. Both a bit shaky, so no real winners here. And lastly, we'll do a low light test. To help out, here's a reference shot of what the scene looks like. Let's start with ISO 100, ISO 400, ISO 800, ISO 1250, ISO 1600, ISO 3200, ISO 6400, ISO 12800, and ISO 25600. To me, both lenses perform about the same. Now let's go to a different angle of the same setup. Let's start with ISO 100, ISO 400, ISO 800, ISO 1250, ISO 1600, ISO 3200, ISO 6400, ISO 12800, and ISO 25600. Again, both lenses perform just about the same. So, what are my conclusions? In my opinion, the Sigma 35 Art is the winner, but not by far. Although this lens was more consistent in sharpness, smooth bokeh, and excellent image quality, the Sigma 30mm wasn't too far behind. That's pretty amazing considering it's a non-art APS-C lens. Plus, it's smaller, lighter, and half the price of the Sigma 35 Art. So it's a pretty excellent prime lens for your Sony a6500, a6300, or a6000. So what do you think? Which lens do you prefer? Let's start a conversation in the comments below and... No, hold on. Hello?
Mister, have you seen my kitty cat?
Well, which one is it? A kitty or a cat?
Why do you make this so difficult?
Anyway, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll catch you later. Peace.